Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 6 matchup between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Illinois Fighting Illini. Two teams that are off to slow starts so far this season, 2-3 overall, 0-2 in conference. And this is a crucial game for both teams coming up here in Week 6 as we hit about the halfway point in the regular season. This could be what you could consider an elimination game for bowl contention coming up here in Week 6. We'll be covering a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. Nebraska lost to Michigan last week. 7-45 was the final. Just a brutal game for Nebraska there. Michigan, top 2 team in the country, and a team that I ranked as the top team in the country for Week 6. Just a brutal game for the Huskers there, and Michigan is simply put, just a complete football team right now. Nebraska is not, and this is a team that is still trying to rebuild under a first-year head coach in Matt Rule. But for Illinois on the other side, lost to Purdue last week, 19-44, just an ugly loss for the Illini. I mean, this team was excellent last season. You really could have made an argument that they were the best team in the Big Ten West last year, but 2-3 so far this season. It's just not been the same team, and it's not been what we expected for the Illini. I mean, I feel like the way that Brett Bielema led this team to success last season, defensively, this team was brutal last year. Just not the same case this season so far, but this is a team that's got upside in the Illini, and obviously this is a huge game for both teams, trying to get back on track here in Week 6. Games will be on Friday, October 6th in Champaign. The Illini, the home team for this matchup, and your kickoff is 7 p.m. Central. Spread's going with Illinois here by 3.5, so the Illini are barely favored in this matchup. FPI is going with the Illini as well, 61%. And lower scoring game is expected. The over-under is at 42.5 for this matchup. Just about where you would expect it for a Big Ten West matchup. Series history, Nebraska leads at 13-6. But the Illini have now won 3 straight against the Huskers. Last time Nebraska beat Illinois was 2019, so it's been a while for Nebraska. And obviously in the last 10, Nebraska does lead at 6-4, and that pretty much ranges all the way to when Nebraska joined the Big Ten. Your stat comparison, Nebraska 111th in points per game this season. This is an offense that has really struggled so far this year. You consider put up 10 on Minnesota, put up 14 on Colorado, and fast forward, turns out Colorado's got one of the worst defenses in the country. So, I mean, obviously that's not a good look. But I will say this, though. Since Jeff Sims has been benched and since Heinrich Haarberg has been in for the Huskers, this team has looked a lot better offensively. You consider the NIU game, put up 35 there, and then Louisiana Tech put up 28. Only put up 7 on Michigan, but Michigan is also an elite football team this season. But bottom line, Heinrich is the guy for the Huskers at quarterback, I really do think. Jeff Sims is a much more experienced quarterback, but his ceiling is so low at this point. He played at Georgia Tech for multiple years. Never was really a big standout at Georgia Tech, and he comes to Nebraska and turned over the ball way too much for Nebraska to even have a chance against Colorado, for example, and obviously a couple of critical turnovers against Minnesota. So Heinrich's the guy for the Huskers. They definitely should go with him moving forward. And you look at the rushing game, that's really been where this Nebraska team has been impressive. They're a top 15 team in the country when it comes to rush yards a game. Haarberg has already ran for nearly 300 yards in his 3 games this season and 2 touchdowns. So really impressive what he's done. I mean, you compare him with Jeff Sims. Jeff Sims also ran the ball a lot during his 2 games, but the only difference is that Haarberg really hasn't turned over the ball in comparison to Jeff Sims, who definitely did at least a lot more than Haarberg has to this point. But for the Illini, turnovers have also been an issue for Illinois. Luke Altmaier, 7 picks already this season against 5 touchdowns. That's really been an issue. But I mean, this is a team that's got talent around him. Reggie Love has been great so far, or at least he's a talented running back with potential. And then Isaiah Williams is definitely the standout at receiver for this team, nearly 450 yards already on the season, even though remarkably he hasn't even had a touchdown yet. But you look at the Illini, otherwise 103rd in rush yards a game. That is something to keep in mind. This team has been weak against the run, and turns out Nebraska is one of the best rushing teams in the country. Your recent matchups, Nebraska, we've talked about this a little bit, lost to Michigan 7-45, 2 wins against LA Tech and Northern Illinois. And then for the Illini, most notably, they've beaten Toledo and FAU, both games close, and got blown out against Penn State and Purdue. Kept it somewhat close against Kansas, but the Jacks got the win in the end. Your key points, Nebraska 2-3, coming off of obviously brutal loss against Michigan, but That's a team that you could very well argue is the best team in the country. I feel like if you compare the way that Michigan's played versus the way Georgia's played, maybe Georgia's played better football teams, but Michigan has been more dominant for sure. So there's a good chance that the Wolverines are the best team in the country right now, and so that was definitely a tough loss. But this is a team that is strong in the rushing game and defending it. And Illinois is a team that really isn't a strong rushing team. So it's going to be defending the pass, and Isaiah Williams and forcing turnovers will be big for Nebraska here. But I will say this, though. I mean, both teams have shown are at least talented. I mean, Illinois is a team that is disappointed so far this season for sure. But Nebraska is a team that's got some potential for sure. I feel like Harburg, as the year goes on, is only going to get better. He's already shown a lot of promise this season. And, I mean, so keep an eye on Harburg in this Nebraska offense. But for Illinois on the other side, obviously a slow start in 2023. But limiting the turnovers will be huge. If they don't have any turnovers in this matchup, I honestly probably will take the Illini to win. But it's really tough to bet against that right now. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And this is, honestly, this applies for both teams. This is probably a must-win to remain in bowl contention for both teams. And it's insane to say you got 2-3 football teams, 0-2 in conference, but both teams are still in contention for the Big Ten West. That's just how insane of a division the Big Ten West is. I'd probably say Wisconsin is the team to beat in the division at this point, especially with the injuries that I was dealing with, and Minnesota's been less than great so far this season as well. But both teams are still in contention for both a bowl game and the Big Ten West at this point. But this is a must-win to stay into contention for a bowl game, most notably as well. I mean, loser goes to 2-4, and things definitely look bleak heading into the second half of the regular season. So with that, let's get to the prediction here for Nebraska and Illinois coming up here in week 6 of action. This one, I do want to go with Nebraska to win it 27-20. This is pretty close to a toss-up, but I will say this: whoever wins the turnover margin will win this matchup. I really do think that, and I think Nebraska finds a way to get a couple of picks on the Illini and maybe at least one, and maybe even get some points defensively in this matchup. But I think both teams coming off of brutal losses. That's obviously a bit of a downside, but Nebraska is a team that I feel like has got higher upside at this point in the season, and I feel like they find a way in this matchup and get a nice win on the road against the Illini. But it's very close. I mean, you could go either way with this one. Illinois being at home, Nebraska's also had trouble on the road performing in especially Big Ten road games. So that is something that I would take the Illini for, but it is very close though, and I feel like Nebraska has shown more promise than Illinois has to this point in the season. But I do want to take the over. I think we see a decent amount of points in this matchup, and both teams allowed a lot of points last week, so it makes sense. But I got Nebraska covering the spread and winning this game 27-20 in the end. But let me know your thoughts and comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.